Things First is sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
Good Tuesday morning to everyone. I'm Jenna Wolf. This is First Things First. Nick Wright, Brandon Marshall, Kevin Wilds with us. And as we enter week 11 in the NFL, we are starting out with football, but with gigantic NBA news. We actually have a lot of it sprinkled into the show, and we'll get you some football. But let's start with the bombshell report that broke last night, gentlemen. James Harden turning down a 2-year, $103 million deal from the Houston Rockets, reportedly making his message clear. He wants out, and he'd like to go to Brooklyn. Wilds, I'm just going to say it again. Houston, you've got a problem. The Rockets and Nets have reportedly been in contact, but so far to no avail. So, Nick, I'll start with you. My expressions aside, are you surprised Harden reportedly said no to becoming the first $15 million a year player?
No, because at this point, money, it's not that it's meaningless to James Harden, but it's close to it. Some figures for you. $200 million. That's how much guaranteed money James Harden has generated off the court, thanks to Adidas. $210 million. That's how much guaranteed money James Harden has already earned on the court. And $140 million, that's how much guaranteed money James Harden has left on his current contract. Add all those figures up, and you get well over $500 million. So no, agreeing to pick up his player option and then tack 2 more years on the back end of a deal for a team that is no longer stewarded by Daryl Morey, I'm not surprised it's not attractive to him. Brandon, the only thing left for James is a championship. He's got the MVP, he's got the scoring title, got the assist title. He's one of the 30 greatest players in the history of the sport, statistically speaking. But he is not talked about like that because he's been to 1 finals and it was as a 6th man. So no, I'm not surprised that he doesn't want to tie the next 5 years of his career to a team in Houston, Brandon, that he does not know what it's going to look like.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised either. And Nick, some would say he will actually make even more money if he goes to New York and he wins a championship. Like, that is the thinking. You're a legend forever. That you go down in history. So I'm not surprised. And then also, there's nobody left in Houston. The general manager is gone. The head coach is gone. Your wingman wants out. So why would you want to stay there? I think LeBron James totally changed the mindset of the athlete and how we approach business. When LeBron James started controlling his own narrative and he started controlling his journey, everybody started thinking about, wow, what's the best situation for me? And that's what James Harden is doing here. James Harden is looking at this exactly to what you said, Nick, and like, what is the best situation for me? Where can I go and excel, win a championship, and continue to build on my career? So whilst I'm not surprised by this, I don't know if it gets done. I don't know how all this is going to work out, but if it happens, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, so I think if he goes to Brooklyn, they win the championship. And I've been shocked in the last few days the amount of people saying it doesn't work. And always the sign of if something is going to work or not, and Nick, I know we talk about it, is like, what does your opponent not want you to do? So you know that's like, hey, Anthony Davis, great news. Kyrie and KD got James Harden. Fantastic. We're going to roll to another championship. Yes, also Taco Tuesday. We just know it's going to we just know they're going to win the championship. The tricky part here is the narrative needs to switch on James Harden if this moves. Because James Harden, to be frank, was viewed as sort of a me-first, selfish player. His usage rate has always been, you know, through the roof. He was 2 last year. Russ was like 4 or 5 last year. So the idea that he can't sort of move the ball, like, don't we want this, Nick, as like the evolution of Harden? The media has been dying for this, like, oh, you can't win this way, you can't win this way. It's like, yeah, I know. That's why I want to move. So I think we're seeing a huge narrative shift around what people think or the one way people think Harden can play.
Well, and Jenna, I know you're going to lead to it, but my question, Wilds, would be, and then I'll kick it to you, Jenna, does James Harden want to change the way he plays, or does James Harden want to change where he plays that way? And I think I think we know he wants a change of scenery. I don't know if we know he wants to change, Jenna, how he plays.
Well, that's just it. So obviously the first thing that comes to mind when you think about a deal like this is how these three personalities are going to mesh. You got James Harden. You just talked about it. His usage rate. You got Kevin Durant. Also likes the ball. You got Kyrie. Also likes the ball. Does it work on the court? Does it work off the court? You know, Nick, I'll send it back to you. What do you think? How do these three personalities mesh?
Well, the personalities is a very tough one to answer because KD is a unique guy unto himself. Kyrie Irving is the definition of, call it mercurial, to be nice. And Harden is a guy who really has not, he's been actually somewhat close guarded into who he is off the court with the media. I think basketball-wise, Brandon, KD and Harden would work great. Because Durant, one thing he proved in Golden State is the big playoff moments aren't too much for him. He's not afraid of them, and that is where Harden has struggled. I do not see at all how Kyrie Irving fits into this, Brandon, and my guess would be if this does happen and they don't win the title, that Kevin Wildes was so gracious to just hand them as if LeBron James has retired from the league. I mean, it was very nice what Kevin Wildes just did. I think Kyrie Irving, who was supposedly going to be Kevin Durant's wingman, Kyrie Irving would be the one in trade discussions a year from now if this got done and it didn't end in a championship.
Yeah, but Nick, I think it's less about their personalities and more about them on the court and how they ball. When you think about it, and Kevin, you talked about the usage rate and what, is Harden willing to change? Well, at the end of the day, these players are smart. They're some of the smartest, basketball players on the planet. It's not just all physical. So you got to think that they're sitting back having these conversations about how do we sacrifice? And that is the question. Are we willing to sacrifice? Before any of this happens, those three guys have to come together and have that conversation. Now, sometimes you got to save the player from himself because they all think that they can get it done. But when you really look at this, we're looking at today's NBA. We're looking at guys that need to be able to create, guys that need to be able to shoot the ball. All three of those guys do it well. So it comes down to who is going to sacrifice, who's going to be able to play off the ball. So, Kevin, I think this can work if they have real conversations and they sacrifice. But to me, if I'm a player in this situation, I'm looking at how we can potentially win two championships. That's going to force me to look myself in the mirror and say, you know what? Maybe I'm willing to sacrifice some numbers. Maybe I'm willing to sacrifice a couple dollars to get it done.
All right, Wildes, I want to get your take on this. Let's play a little drawing a blank. In the midst of all the craziness last night, Harden posted this video to his Instagram story, uncapping his bottle of water. So many different ways to interpret